So you saved your money, you know how to pack. Now what? Or really, now where? Hey, I'm Lindsay, and this is the third video in my travel series, and things are looking a little different around here, huh? We are in India right now, and although India is one of my most favorite countries in the entire world, if travel was a video game, India would be like expert level. It can sometimes be a little challenging to travel around here, like so much more chaotic. So it got me thinking, what would be the best countries for first-time travelers to start with? Through my travels, I found some countries that are safe, friendly, and cheap enough where mistakes like missed buses or getting ripped off by hagglers won't break the bank. A quick side note here, one of the most intimidating things for first-time travelers is the language barrier. So a lot of these countries are English-speaking or at least very English-speaking friendly. So without further ado, here are my 10 best destinations for first-time travelers. Number 10 is England. No language barrier and great public transit in the city. England is not cheap, but because of the relative ease of travel and transit, safety, and the fact there's not really any haggling, like the prices you see is the price that you're expected to pay. A jaunt around England is a jolly good way to get your first passport stamp. Number 9 is Australia. Like England, Australia is English speaking. And although the public transit is not great, you can rent a car or take a tourist bus around most of the places you'll need to go in the country. Australia is not cheap, but it's not as expensive as England, and it's more on par with like Canada or the US. Number 8 is Portugal. Great wine, sparkling coasts, and decent public transit. Portugal is a great break into Europe on a budget. Because other European countries have the main tourist draw, Portugal ends up being pretty laid back, easy to get around, and cheaper than other more well-known European countries. Most people understand at least a little bit of English or can point you in the direction of someone who does, and it's the perfect first country to dip your toes in Europe before you tackle the big guys. Number 7 is Iceland. Iceland is a small country, but what it loses in size, it makes up for in natural beauty. So Iceland is expensive. It's more expensive than the UK, Europe, the US, Australia, and Canada. It's kind of more on par with Scandinavian countries in terms of pricing, but it's on my list because of its high safety ratings and the ease of getting around if you rent a car. English is not the first language here, but a lot of people speak it. Number 6 is Mexico. Yeah, some part of the country has a not so great reputation, but if you're coming from the US or Canada, it's the perfect long weekend getaway to get that first stamp in your passport. The food is good, the people are nice, the beer is cheap, and the language barrier exists, but even with my terrible, almost non-existent Spanish, I was able to get around. Number 5 is Croatia. Like Portugal, Croatia is a great entry into Europe. It's cheaper, less traveled, but just as beautiful as the more well-known countries in Europe. It's super mellow, and although bargaining is common at the stalls and vendors, there are enough cheaper stores that you can always go in if you don't feel comfortable bargaining and you want to pay a set price. Number 4, Canada, oh Canada. English speaking, even in the French parts, safe, friendly, and on par with the US and Oz for pricing. Public transit isn't great, but you can rent a car, buy domestic flights, or even better, take the train around for the long stretches. Pristine wilderness, great food, and the all-around ease of travel puts Canada high on my list for first-time travelers. Number 3, Thailand. Thailand holds a very special place in my heart. It has everything from jungle mountains to beaches. Amazing food, great public transit, friendly locals, and it's cheap. Incredibly cheap. Once you get the big flight price out of the way, Thailand is a fantastic value. And even though the first language here is Thai, English is widely spoken, and the country is set up for tourism, which makes it easy to navigate for first-time travelers. Number 2, the US. Yes, I'm biased here, but if you're coming from Canada or Europe, the US is easy to get to and easy to get around. Public transit is terrible, but you can rent a car, buy short domestic flights, or take Amtrak all the way around the US. So I don't work for Amtrak, I'm not sponsored by them, but one of the best trips I've ever taken was 30 days on the Amtrak Discovery Rail Pass, where you can basically go to 12 cities all around the US for 30 days on Amtrak, and it takes you through small little towns, through national parks, all the way to connecting to the big cities of the US, and it's such a cool, unique way to see part of the states that I had never seen before. If you're not down with the train, you can always rent a car and stick to these smaller cities as opposed to the big ones that are more well known if you want to save money and meet friendlier locals. Number 1, Costa Rica. Rainforest-covered mountains, jungle beaches. Costa Rica is incredibly travel-friendly, safe, and even though Spanish is the first and primary language, many people speak English or enough to point you in the direction of someone who speaks English. The country is connected by tourist bus and local buses, and there are also short domestic flights should you want to save some time. So that's it. That's my top 10 countries for first-time travelers. Yeah, they're all a little bit touristy, but there's ways to get off the beaten path in every single one of them. Sometimes the hardest thing about travel is just getting that first country under your belt, and all of the countries on this list are the perfect vehicle to do that. I just want to say, guys, thank you so much for sticking with me. I know this video was late. I'm in India right now, but I really wanted to just make this so I can get it up. Things have been crazy in LA, all crazy good, but if you've been watching my $30 a day series, then you know that I was working as a show producer on House Hunters, which is amazing, and I loved my job, but I actually just recently got a promotion, which is fantastic, but there's a huge learning curve with this. My new job is overseeing the branding and integration for 5 HGTV shows, so it's like my job times 5, and I've been learning it over the past few weeks, and I've had zero time to put any sort of thought into making these videos, which is why this one is very late. But I really appreciate you guys sticking with me. If you guys want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram, I do let you guys know there if my video is going to be late or when it's coming up or what I'm actually doing in real life if I'm not on YouTube. And yeah, that's a way you can connect with me, and I'm super responsive. I try to be at least on both of those. So more videos coming up, and thanks so much for watching, and next video coming up hopefully soon, and talk to you guys then. Okay, bye.